Hello. Check test 1 2. For some reason, my mic had been muted. Hello, everybody. Thank you for clicking on. Let me say all that crap I just said again. It's not crap, it's legitimate stuff. I'm a couple of minutes late because I was making sure I had all my ducks in a row with some breaking news. As the title says, Trump has been indicted again. We're also going to talk about a couple of arrests that were made today, or actually were revealed today. And a rest, someone took a rest. They took a pause and then came back today. We'll talk about that. That has to do with the 1776 Restoration Movement. So all of that on tap for tonight. And without further ado, let's go to, let's see. Where's it at? I'm going to go to NBC News here if I can find it. There we go. And here's what's going on. Trump among 19 indicted in Georgia on conspiracy charges in a 2020 election. And I'm not sure why we don't have live coverage going on. It must have, I wouldn't think it would have just ended. There's going to be a press conference, and let me see if the local, no, let's see if the local, no, they've got news. They got the weather forecast on. Well, let me see if C-SPAN has it. Okay, C-SPAN will have the, looks like it will have the press conference. Hang with me. Thank you for hanging with me. We're just getting started. We're going to be on here a while tonight. It's just you and me, chat. So I'll do that later.
Then
Go to
provide our public
C-SPAN and
service.
see if, yeah, we're going to have coverage of the press conference. It hasn't started yet. In the meantime, we'll go back to the NBC News headline. Trump among 19 indicted in Georgia on conspiracy charges. The attorney Sidney Powell, the former attorney, I think he's been disbarred, Rudy Giuliani, former chief of staff Mark Meadows, as well as Trump. Okay, here we go. An update just came in. Here are the 19 people charged in the indictment from Diana Paulson at NBC News. 19 people charged: Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, Mark Meadows, Kenneth Chesebro, Jeffrey Clark, Jenna Ellis, Ray Smith III, Robert Cheeley, Michael Roman, David Schaefer, Sean Still, Stephen Lee, Harrison Floyd, Travian Cootie, Sidney Powell, Kathy Laham, Scott Hall, and Misty Hampton. Here is the indictment. Again, we're awaiting the press conference. We'll show the press conference. We have it on C-SPAN. The indictment. Donald John Trump counts 1, 5, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, 27 through 29, and 38 through 39. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 charges. Giuliani, counts 1 through 3, 6 through 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, and 23 through 24. So some counts Giuliani shares with Trump. Some counts Giuliani's charged on his own. Eastman counts 1 and 2, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, and 27. Cheeseboro, okay. Here are the charges: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of the evidently 39 different counts in this one indictment. Violation of the Georgia RICO, Racketeering, Influencing, and Corruption Organization Act. Solicitation of violation of oath by public officer. False statements and writings. False statements and writings. Solicitation of violation of oath by public officer. Solicitation of violation of oath by public officer. Count 7 is false statements and writings. Count 8, impersonating a public officer. Count 9, conspiracy to commit impersonating a public officer. Count 10, forgery in the first degree. Count 11, conspiracy to commit forgery in the first degree. Okay, so Trump's count 1, violation of the RICO Act. This is going to get interesting. On a federal level, when there's a RICO charge, oftentimes all funds are immediately seized and frozen. All funds are frozen and seized by the federal government. Giuliani's charged with that. So is Eastman. So is Meadows. So is Cheeseboro, Clark, Ellis, Stallings. All of them, every one of them is charged with RICO. This is what they put gangsters away for. Mobsters, the mafia. It's also wire fraud, was what it was known as before. But, okay, we got a new update. Still no press conference yet. We'll go to it when we get there. Trump was also charged with number 5, solicitation of violation of oath. So trying to get somebody to violate their oath of office. Count 9, conspiracy to commit impersonating a public officer. This has to do with the fake jurors, or not jurors, but fake electors for the Electoral College. This is one of the states where they submitted a slate of fake electors. Those in Michigan are facing federal charges, and I'm assuming those some of those on our list here fall into that category as well, as they were fake electors. We've got a new update, so we'll see what other information once we get through this. 9 is conspiracy to commit, and 11 is conspiracy to commit forgery. Interesting. And then he's also got, I'll try to remember this, 13, 15, 17, 19. Let's see if we have the other charges before we get to the new. Oh, yes, here we go. All right. We also have Steer Lee, Prescott Floyd, Kuthi, Sidney Powell. Okay, we've read all of those charged. 12 is false statements and writings, conspiracy to commit. 13, 14, criminal attempt to commit. 15, conspiracy to commit. 16, forgery in the first degree. 17, conspiracy to commit. 18, false statements and writings. 19, conspiracy to commit false statements and writings. I think those were all Trump. charges. And let me go to um, 22. Oh, sorry. 22, criminal attempt to commit false statements, solicitation or violation of oath. 23, false statements in writings. 24, false statements in writings. 25, 26, also false statements in writings. Different. The the reason they're different. I'm not sure. I thought they were different codes, but they're all 161020s. So they must have varying degrees of misuse. Okay, let's get the rest of them here. False statement in writings, conspiracy to commit solicitation of false statement in writings, influencing witnesses, commit conspiracy to commit election fraud, conspiracy to commit election fraud, conspiracy to commit computer theft, conspiracy to commit computer trespass, hacking, conspiracy to commit computer invasion of privacy, conspiracy to defraud the state, solicitation of the violation of oath by public officers. Seems like a lot of that was going on, trying to get people to violate their oath. And let's see how many more. We got 40 total counts. 30 is conspiracy to commit solicitation of false statements. 31 is influencing witnesses. 32 is conspiracy to commit election fraud. So is 33. 34 is conspiracy to commit computer theft. Massive amount of conspiracies, which will potentially tie up more than just the people that are already mentioned. 35, conspiracy to commit computer trespass. 36, conspiracy to commit computer invasion of privacy. 37, conspiracy to defraud the state. 38, solicitation of violation of oath. 39, false statements in writings. 40, false statements in writings. And then Fannie T. Willis, District Attorney, and that is the signature of the grand jury for not going to tell you the name or and none of this is doxing. This is all public record, and we're seeing it on NBC News. They do list the grand jurors that were selected, chosen, and sworn, and um, I'm not going to do that. Let me go to the update and see what we got. Trump was charged with 13 counts and a 41 count indictment leveled against 19 defendants. Okay. Yeah, we've already done all that. All right. Ah, what happened? Okay, here we go. Ah, what happened? Crap. Hang with me here for a second. There we go. All right. Let me make sure we're doing this right. Go back over here to the studio and see if we get the right thing up. We do. Good. All right. Hello, chat. I'm sorry. I haven't even got chat on there. I got chat on. Hello. Thank you all for being here tonight. And we're just getting things rolling. Again, let me pop back over here and put this out to full screen. Anticipate hearing from the district attorney And again, numerous counts against Trump, and numerous um, co-conspirators. A lot of conspiracy too. Okay, I thought we were going to get started on this, but um, hang on, I don't even have. Let me do this real quick. We're awaiting the we're awaiting the uh, press conference from the district attorney of Fulton County, Georgia. Um, no, I don't. Okay. All right, good. In the meantime, while we got a couple of seconds, I'll show you this. Bill O'Reilly put this out at what would that be? 9:44 Eastern time. As we predicted, Georgia DA indicts Donald Trump on election violations. We'll read the 10 counts and have fair analysis tomorrow. At first glance, indictments look weak and politically motivated. The frickin' clown posted this before the indictments had been unsealed, and it wasn't 10 counts. Actually, it was 44-0. You only missed it times 4. Um, please, if you know, just share this little tiny bit of information with everybody you know, um, especially those that listen to this clown, and try to convince them to stop for their own good, um, or just something to think about. A lot of other stuff to talk about tonight once we get through the indictments here. Once we get through the press conference, we've kind of gone through um, everybody that is a co-conspirator, and we've also gone through the charges. We did it fairly quickly. Um, it'll be interesting to see what else comes out here. A couple of the there is rightly there's good reason to speculate that of the 10 indictments that came out of the court today, out of the grand jury, a couple of those, 2 of those, were probably for something else not related to Trump. And while we're getting all of this, it'll be interesting to see how it's all broken down. If this is the only Trump indictment, or are there 7 other indictments with similar charges, or with different charges? Because it was speculated that Lindsey Graham, as well as a couple of other sitting Congress people, either in the Senate or the House, might also be indicted, might also be tied into all of this. And as of yet, those names have not popped up. So we're also going to talk about a character known as he's got his real name is going to be coming up tonight due to public record. His real name's Jason George. Some people he's AKA Jersey J, and he's AKA JJ. We've got a report on him tonight, and we've got a report on 1776 Restoration Movement coming up tonight, and we're going to take questions and comments from the chat throughout the evening. Um, it may be. I was anticipating that we would be underway with a press conference by now, but let me look down here. 11:28. Um, I kind of figured by 11:15 we would be into the press conference. So I might go ahead and no, I don't want to. I don't want to mix things up here. We'll stay here and see what she has to say. I thought she was coming out, but all right. Um, Let me see if there's any new information over here on ABC or CN or NBC. Uh, okay, they're just speculating. Okay, again, this is just one indictment. Trump was charged with 13 counts out of 41 count indictment. Um, of course, you know, Trump supporters are slamming this indictment as a sham and you know a lot of pearl clutching and hair on fire. Um, Again, while I got a second, the 19 people charged: Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, Mark Meadows, Kenneth Chesebro, Jeffrey Clark, Gina Ellis, Ray Smith III, Robert Cheeley, Michael Roman, David Schaefer, Sean Still, Stephen Lee, Harrison Floyd, Trevian Kute, Sidney Powell, Kathy Latham, Scott Hall, and Misty, Misty, Hampton. And take a quick look back over here again. Filed August 14th, 2023 by the clerk of the court. And the state of Georgia versus versus Donald J. Trump, Rudy Giuliani, John Charles Eastman, Mark Randall Meadows, Kenneth John Chesebro, Jeffrey Bossert Clark, Gina Lynn Ellis, Ray Stallings Smith, Robert David Cheeley, Michael A. Roman, and David James Schaefer, as well as there were more. Here's the total: 19 defendants. We just went through that. And the charges, 41 of them, a lot of false statements and writings, impersonating, solicitation, conspiracy, RICO, the big one, right out of the gate, the very first one, violation of the Georgia RICO Racketeering Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act. That's OCGA 16 OCGA 1614-4C. Well, I got a second here. No, I don't want that. Where we at? No. This is where we're at. Okay. Um, Let me do this. If I, come on. No, I just want that one line. Well, it's not going to let me do it. I don't want the whole thing. There we go. That's what I want right there. That'll work. Um, we're going to take a look at what that law actually is. Okay. Let's take a look at this real quick while we wait for the press conference to start. 2020 Georgia Code, Title 16, Crimes and Offenses, Chapter 14, Racketeering, Influenced and Corrupt Organization. Let me get a drink before starting this. It shall be unlawful for any person through a pattern of racketeering activity or proceeds derived therefrom to acquire or maintain directly or indirectly any interest in or control of any enterprise, real property, or personal property of any nature, including money. This is where I mentioned earlier the freezing of the assets, which can happen immediately in federal cases. It shall be unlawful for any person employed by or associated with any enterprise to conduct or participate in directly or indirectly such enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity. Should be unlawful for any person to conspire or endeavor to violate any of the provisions of such subsection A or B, that above. A person violates this subsection when he or she, together with one or more persons, conspires to violate any of the provisions of subsection A or B. He or she endeavors to violate any of the provisions of subsection A or B of this code and commits any overt act to affect the object of the endeavor. So, that's a universal citation, Georgia Code 16-14-4 from 2020. And then also, in addition, we've got not codified by the General Assembly, that this act shall become effective on July 1st, 2015. Okay. Okay. On both alleged conspiracy and these are rulings that have gone along with this. Okay. Is therefore unconstitutional, is not unconstitutional, vague or broad. I thought it was a little vague myself, but I'm not a lawyer or a constitutionalist. Although I do have an episode from about a year and a half ago where we went through the entire Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and we did it in under an hour and 45 minutes, including taking breaks to go on virtual roller coaster rides. So if you're interested in what the Constitution really says and kind of what it means, go back about a year and take a look at that video. Stalling, killing time, waiting on the press conference to start. And press conference I'm talking about, if you're just joining us, is the district attorney. And
have worked diligently on the investigation of criminal attempts to interfere in the administration of Georgia's 2020 presidential election. Today, based on information developed by that investigation a Fulton County grand jury returned a true bill of indictment, charging 19 individuals with violations of Georgia law arising from a criminal conspiracy to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election in this state. The indictment includes 41 felony counts and is 97 pages long. Please remember that everyone charged in this bill of indictment is presumed innocent. Specifically, the indictment brings felony charges against Donald John Trump, Rudolph William Louis Giuliani, John Charles Eastman, Mark Randall Meadows, John Cheeseborough, Jeffrey Clark, Jenna Lynn Ellis, Ray Stallings Smith III, Robert David Cheeley, Michael A. Roman, David James Schaefer, Sean Micah Tresher Steele, Stephen Cliffgard Lee, Harrison William Prescott Floyd, Travion C. Cootie, Sydney Catherine Powell, Kathleen Austin Latham, Scott Graham Hall, and Misty Hampton, also known as Emily Misty Hayes. Every individual charged in the indictment is charged with one count of violating Georgia's Racketeer, Influenced, and Corrupt Organizations Act through participation in a criminal enterprise in Fulton County, Georgia, and elsewhere to accomplish the illegal goal of allowing Donald J. Trump to seize the presidential term of office beginning on January 20th, 21.
If one person goes down for racketeering, generally almost always everybody goes down. So the rats will start turning on each other very quickly.
And elsewhere to block the counting of the votes of the presidential electors who were certified as the winners of Georgia's 2020 general election. As you examine the indictment, you will see acts that are identified as overt acts and those that are identified as predicate acts, sometimes called acts of racketeering activity. Overt acts are not necessarily crimes under Georgia law in isolation, but are alleged to be acts taken in furtherance of the conspiracy. Many occurred in Georgia, and some occurred in other jurisdictions and are included because the grand jury believes they were part of the illegal effort to overturn the results of Georgia's 2020 presidential election. The acts identified as predicate acts or acts of racketeering activity are crimes that are alleged to have been committed in furtherance of the criminal enterprise. Acts of racketeering activity are also charged as separate counts in the indictment against those who are alleged to have committed them. All elections in our nation are administered by these states, which are given the responsibility of ensuring a fair process and an accurate counting of the votes. That includes elections for presidential electors, Congress, state officials, and local offices. The state's role in this process is essential to the functioning of our democracy. Georgia, like every state, has laws that allow those who believe that results of an election are wrong, whether because of intentional wrongdoing or unintentional error, to challenge those results in our state courts. The indictment alleges that rather than abide by Georgia's legal process for election challenges, the defendants engaged in a criminal racketeering enterprise to overturn Georgia's presidential election result. Subsequent to the indictment, as is the normal process in Georgia law, the grand jury issued arrest warrants for those who are charged. I am giving the defendants the opportunity to voluntarily surrender no later than noon on Friday, the 25th day of August, 2023.
Oh, she's being very
I
lenient.
remind everyone here that an indictment is only a series of allegations based on a grand jury's determination.
She's giving them 11 days to turn themselves in.
The charges. It is now the duty of my office to
Some of
prove
them
these
people might
charges
run
in the indictment beyond a reasonable doubt at trial. I would like to take a moment to thank the Superior Court Clerk, Shay Alexander, and her staff for staying late and making sure that this indictment was processed. I would also like to thank the men and women of Sheriff Labatt's office for keeping the courthouse open, but most importantly for keeping us safe over the weeks and months that have led up to this indictment, and for what I know they will continue to do to keep us safe. We also want to thank the Atlanta Police Department and other law enforcement partners who have worked with the sheriff to keep us safe. I will now take a very limited number of questions prior to going to sleep.
I'll go first.
Madam District Attorney.
If you don't mind, Savannah 11 to 11 alive. Quick question: can you clarify in Georgia the mandatory minimum when it comes to RICO charges, whether it's servable by probation or how that might play out?
The RICO charges has time that you have to serve, so it's not a probated sentence.
Not a probated sentence. There will be time served if found guilty.
What is the timetable for the trial? As you know, in this jurisdiction, trials are set by the judges. And so it will be the judge that sets the date of the trial. This office will be submitting a proposed scheduling order within this week. However, that will totally be at the discretion of the judge.
And you want to be you're the fourth jurisdiction now to indict Donald Trump. You be the fourth one to try him, or could you move it up? You want to be the first to try him?
I don't have any desire to be first or last. I want to try him and be respectful for our sovereign states. We do want to move this case along, and so we will be asking for a proposed order that occurs a trial date within the next 6 months.
Madam District Attorney, there was earlier today, there was a fictitious document, according to the Fulton County Clerk's Office, that was circulated online with charges against former President Donald Trump. That fictitious document matched exactly the charges that we now see in this indictment. Can you tell us more about that document leak? Because now you have the former president's lawyers who are saying this is emblematic of a serious problem with your office.
No, I can't tell you anything about what you refer to. What I can tell you is that we had a grand jury here in Fulton County. They deliberated till almost 8 o'clock, if not right after 8 o'clock. An indictment was returned. It was true billed, and you now have an indictment. I am not an expert on clerks' duties or even administrative duties. I wouldn't know how to work that system, and so I'm not going to speculate. Next question.
Have you had any contact with this special counsel about overlap between these cases, and do you intend to try all of these defendants together?
Do I intend to try the 19 defendants in this indictment together? Yes.
And have you had any contact with the special counsel about the overlap between this indictment and the federal indictment?
I'm not going to discuss our investigation at this time. I'm going to take.
What do you make of the arguments made by former President Trump that this is a politically motivated indictment?
I make decisions in this office based on the facts and the law. The law is completely nonpartisan. That's how decisions are made in every case. To date, this office has indicted, since I've been sitting as a district attorney, over 12,000 cases. This is the 11th RICO indictment. We followed the same process. We look at the facts, we look at the law, and we bring charges.
Will you try this case yourself?
Has the jury been cleared?
Sit down.
Okay. There we go. By being at 11:47 at night, by ending at 11:47 at night. There's not going to be a lot of protesters out there. Not going to be a lot of anything out there. Was that if that wasn't intentional? It's I would say an opportune circumstance because just like the DA said, everybody's going to go home and go to sleep now. And if a large crowd had been gathered out there the entire day, you know, you got to ask why wasn't anybody out there? Hmm. There's talk that the Trump, the pictures of Trump at the Iowa State Fair, that the Secret Service blocked the entrance off so that people would bottleneck, and it would make it look like there were um, a lot more people there to see Trump than there actually were. So I don't know. Is this? Try this again here. No. All right. I'm not seeing any chat. I don't know if nobody's in chat or if something's going on here and I'm not seeing it. Let me pop it up in the overlay. No chat. All right. Well, so much for being me and you, chat. It's just me. But thank you those that are watching live and those that are watching at a time of your convenience. We do have some other stories to talk about, some other information to share with you here. Let me get rid of Bill O'Reilly and let's go back to Twitter for just X. Sorry, it's not Twitter, it's X. We'll go back to X here for just a few moments. Jersey J, in case you missed it, Jersey J had a live stream. Again, his actual name's Jason George, and he had a live stream. You can catch it on Baldy's Twitter, Baldy Bank's Twitter page. You can catch it during Damnation Drive-In. They actually caught it live, and basically what happened, his vehicle broke down, and the police came, and he was just over the top, and the police were trying to calm him down, and and it was obvious that their de-escalating wasn't going to work. The video, as we'll see here real fast, the video just suddenly ends. And for those that aren't aware or don't know a lot of the details, from that point till today, things were kind of speculative. And once again, we go back to Baldy Banks on the X in our X file scroll, and he's got the court records showing Jersey J was arrested for second-degree aggravated assault, strangling, and several other charges this weekend. He's no bail. I don't have any documentation of what I'm about to say, but the buzz or the rumor or the rumblings behind the scenes, underground, wherever you want to talk about it, is that he hasn't been put in jail yet, that he's in I believe he's under mandatory psychiatric evaluation, and he's reportedly, allegedly chained, handcuffed to a hospital bed. So He hasn't been processed yet into the jail, but the charges have been processed. And here we go. Let's get down here. Aggravated assault, strangle of a domestic violent victim, and there were two other charges. I think obstruction. I think obstruction was one, and hiding evidence, I believe, was the other. So he's being held without bail at the moment, and when I saw this, I watched Damnation Drive-In on at my convenience. I couldn't watch live because I was doing a thing for the concert for the Parks Department, and when I saw it, I thought, oh, this is humorous, and then when it suddenly just ended the way it ended, it wasn't what I expected. I was expecting a little bit more of a story, and chances are they're going to scare him and let him go on his way, or let him stay there. But since his truck was the motor was verifiably disabled. Oh, sorry. But I was not expecting this. When I heard all of this, I wasn't anticipating this. Having covered the 1776 restoration movement, having covered these characters, and they're the ones on the screens. They're the ones everybody watches, everybody knows, and it's just the I guess the term for it online is character arc, I think. But the transformation from Jersey J had one of the absolute funniest bits. I don't know if I laughed any harder, except for I might have laughed as hard when Jersey J and Telescope were together, trying to put up a tent, and also aggravating Aunt who just wanted to get some sleep. Anyway, Jersey J did the Australian crocodile hunter voice, and did a segment live, and I was just rolling. I never actually interviewed him on the show like I have everybody else, but he was on the show. He popped up in the background a couple of times when I had the squirrels on, and I think I don't know, somebody else. It might have been Lori. I don't know who it was. Somebody else live, but anyway, when I was first introduced to him as an online journalist, as a viewer, when I was first introduced to him, a real likable guy, and I thought very talented guy. And when I kind of said this was all like, you could make it like a 70s sitcom, in that, you had, at the time it was AP and Ant were the stars of the thing, and Lori was the real one, the relatable one, the one that wasn't over the top like the others were. And then you had the supporting, the special guest stars that came in, which were the squirrels. And then you had the people that made that one appearance that, would go on to win them awards. And that would have been Telescope and Jersey J. they weren't there all the time, but the times they were there, they like jumped out. And to have Jersey J go from that, how I was introduced to him, um, and to see, all the different things, including, various um, involvement in East Palestine, Ohio, and in the hurricane damage in Florida, and things like that. And then um, to hear this morning that um, he'd been charged with all these things, assault. That's what the first message I got was Jersey J's been arrested for assault, and I was like, okay, well, after seeing Saturday night's video on Damnation Drive-In, um, kind of okay, I could see how later on that night, um, he could have got into it with somebody, but I didn't think it would be, um, I didn't think police officers that he tried to fight the cops and got charged with assault. That wouldn't. I don't think that's what he'd end up getting charged with. But um, when I heard it was Jen, um, it was just a total different level of disgust. Um, and then I was kind of informed about what about the lore, as a lot of people like to refer to it. Um, and if you know that, then at least in my estimation, it's not so surprising. It's still as sickening, but so um, and again, Damnation Drive-In covers all of this and covers it so very well. I don't cover it a lot, but this is something fairly significant, and I got to touch base with this. I gotta bring this up and talk about it a little bit, because I did spend a lot of time covering this. Um, to me, it was a microcosm of what's going on in our country, and I saw this guy who called himself Santa, um, saying that he was going to go into D.C. and this time he was going in, um, like fully armed kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep an eye on this guy and this group. And from that, I guess it just grew and grew and grew. Actually, the first time I ever did a report on them was when they were shooting at people on the overpass, um, on the interstate. I think it's outside of Portland, Oregon, and that's when they first, when that thing came across my Twitter scroll. Um, that was the first time I really took notice of what was going on. And believe me, there are tons of people that have been following that convoy and following all of this kind of freedom stuff for a very, very, very long time. And the lore, the history, the background, the backstory, um, it is vast. But I mentioned Santa and that because um, the title of tonight is Trump indictments, arrests, which JJ has been arrested, aka Jersey J, um, and a rest. Santa took a short rest. David Rydell. He basically disbanded. Everything's done, everything's over with, and no more anything except we're going to have a web page. At noon the other day, and he took a slight rest, like I think a day and a half, 2 days of quitting, and came back today, and again, thanks to Baldy Banks. In a shocking reversal from his mic drop rage quit on Saturday, Convoy Santa has changed his mind and decided to drag the rotting carcass of the 1776 cult down to a new level of failure and embarrassment. If you watched the show, if you have watched the show, you might have seen my friend Melvis. He's been on a few times. He'll be on again. He was over this afternoon, and I was telling him about JJ and about the 1776 thing. And this was before I was telling him about them being over and done with, and I kind of explained what 1776 was, and he said, "Sounds like a cult to me." So first time hearing about it, my friend says it sounds like a cult. So when you see Baldy label it as such, keep that in mind, that the average person, when you hear what they're about, and it's all about the leader. Now, I'm going to formulate a theory. This is just speculation, but I've been a lot of things. You know, I was fortunate to be able to have scholarships to go to college, and I studied a lot of different things. I thought, if I'm going to be here, I'm going to learn as much as I can about as much different stuff as I can. And that's enabled me to do a lot of different things. I've been a teacher. I've been a preacher. I've been a musician. I've been a politician. I've owned a business. I've owned a couple of businesses. I've been a business and finance manager for a multi-million-dollar company. And as I said, I spent a lot of time. Well, I spent a significant amount of time as an ordained minister. So yeah, technically I'm, you can put Reverend at the front of my name. I never use it, never did, with the exception of when I had to legally, signing legal documents, marriage license, burial certificates, baptism, those kind of things. Anyway, I digress. I bring all that up. It's a long way of getting around back to this point. I've seen a lot of religious things. All right, I'll just say things. I've seen small unaffiliated churches. I've seen big mega churches, also unaffiliated. I've seen I've seen from the inside the politics. You know, if you think politics is bad, church politics can be just as bad. I'll just say that just as an aside. I'm leading back to this. A lot of times when failing independent churches, failing churches, that means the pastor's failing. What they'll do is the pastor will, Baldy calls it rage quitting. I don't know if I thought rage quitting had a lot more rage to it, but I'm not going to dispute the term. I'm going to actually pivot from that, the idea of quitting, and normally it's done with almost it's done like a month before all the money's going to be gone. It's like, okay, we're just going to have to quit this church. We just can't do it anymore. I'm sorry. I failed you. I just, I thought the Lord wanted me to do. And, I've had, see, the reason I know about all this kind of stuff, I've heard about it. I was a pastor, in an established church in small towns. And usually in a small town, there are like 6 or 7 churches for 500 people, you know, because everybody, everybody's not, you don't fit. Everybody doesn't fit everywhere. Blah 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 blah. Anyway, I was in the established church, the church that had been there for hundreds and hundreds of years. What happens in those small towns is my office was in the basement of the parsonage where I lived, and people would come to the back door and knock on the back door of the basement, the door to the office, from other congregations, all right, from other churches. A lot of times it was, more often than not, it was advice about trying, it was them wanting, um, what word should I use? Being absolved, um, them wanting me to tell them it was okay for their teenage daughter that had been raped by a family member, that it was okay that she had an abortion, because they felt like it would ruin her life otherwise. And anyway, I'm sorry, I got on a whole different tangent there about that. I had honest people, earnest people come to me and say, look, what do you think about this? Our pastor is saying that, and this guy came from like a couple of towns away. All right. His sister was in my congregation. This guy was like a couple of towns away, and he comes and tells me, my pastor says that, um, unless there's a miracle, that we're going to lose our church in a month. And I said, well, you can always come over here. And I said, I eventually, after the joke, listened to him explain everything that happened. And that, then I had heard it again from another person at another church a couple of counties away. And these are all these little independent small churches that pop up. And when they pop up, everybody's on fire for this new church. And they don't have to grow their, the discontented people in the town will go there. They don't have to grow it. And then if it's not of substance, it starts to die. And then the grift comes in, that, unless there's a miracle, unless somebody does something, and usually there's somebody that has money that keeps it going. I'm not making accusations. I'm not making allegations at all. I'm just saying that this sure fits the profile of the failing congregation. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Somebody gave the money so that we could keep going. And we'll find out, now that Damnation Drive-In's doing once a week, that gives them more time to really, dig into things. So looking forward to their upcoming show this week, about this, about, 1776 is not done. And I don't think anybody's really too surprised or shocked that this had happened. And maybe it's really, I was, overstating the obvious by going through all of that, but it sure does fit with things that I've seen in small independent congregations. And the idea of the cult, the idea of the devotion to there's only one person that can do this. And that brings us back around to Trump, because there are a lot of people that think that way about him, and some that claim Christianity and put him above Jesus. I'm going to have an episode on Christianity, and Christianity if we are not alone, if there are indeed alien life forms. How does that impact the religions of the world, and specifically Christianity, since so many people in our country identify as Christians, even though they don't behave like Jesus instructed, which kind of was the whole point of the thing. Anyway, let me go back and see. Man, there's still nothing. There's not a thing on my chat. I don't know. Maybe it got turned off. I don't know. Or maybe you're pranking me, or maybe it's nobody wanted to chat. But this was the night I was going to be really engaging with chat. So we'll have to do that next time as well. A couple of other stories here to touch on, and before calling it a night. Where to go? Here we go. Again, thank you all for hanging with me. Let's start with this. Russian military planes. This came in 11 hours ago. This is the Hill, the kind of the paper of record of the United States Capitol, of Congress. Its main focus is congressional activities. Russian military planes detected and tracked in Alaskan air defense zone. Okay, I've already done that one. And once again, U.S. had doomsday planes airborne, and this is after Russian nuclear bombers fly to Scotland and Denmark. The Russian nuclear bombers didn't fly to Scotland. They flew towards Scotland. They did fly over the Shetland Islands, which is the northern edges of Scotland. And then they also flew two bombers, strategic bombers, over Denmark. Russia did. So they violated NATO territories twice in today. And we had up one of the presidential doomsday planes. We had up one of the nuke sniffers. We had up one of the communications, emergency communications planes it basically controls every nuclear weapon, whether it's on a submarine, on a ship, or a nuclear missile. From this plane, any and all of them can be launched. All right, so it's a pretty big deal when it's active. And then we had the Sub Hunter. Now, the Sub Hunter and the presidential plane took off at the same time, and the presidential plane followed the Sub Hunter down here to about Alabama. Then the presidential plane broke off from behind the Sub Hunter. It's almost like they were masking the number of planes, and broke off and took off towards Milot Air Force Base. And the Sub Hunter went down here. Let me pull this out so you can see it a little better. The Sub Hunter went down here and started making ovals in the Gulf of Mexico off the coast of Houston. All right. You're not going to hear this stuff on your news. but there are those that are, and I used to be one of them, tracking it all the time. There are so many people doing it now that I don't have to. I can just, show you what they're reporting, because I know from what I see that they know what's going on. So that happened. Again, the Russian planes in Alaska, Russian bombers in Alaska, Russian bombers outside of Scotland, and over Denmark. And then earlier tonight, it was reported 18 Russian bombers were 18 but Russian bombers were on the way into Ukraine, potentially heading towards Kyiv. Kyiv was hit by a missile earlier tonight. Also earlier tonight, there was a massive explosion outside of Tel Aviv in Israel. And there are some that are saying it was a chemical weapons facility that was sabotaged. A plane went down. A Nigerian fighter plane went down in Niger today. Africa is just, as Chris has told us, Africa is just on the verge of a massive war between multiple countries, and there's a lot going on in the world. We try to keep up on it and try to let you know, without freaking anybody out. We just try to give you the information, and I thank you for watching. All right. Again, I'm not sure what's going on with the chat. Why chat is not showing up unless nobody's chatting. And so if you're watching at a later time, or if you watched live and you couldn't chat, let me know in the chat below once I sign off here in a couple of minutes. Let me know what was going on, because I was pumped and ready to go for a while tonight. Was going to talk to people, ask questions, maybe bring some people up, but instead, a lot of things going on, and we'll keep an eye on all of them and try to keep you informed, as well as have some fun and do some fun things as well. So thanks for watching. Have a blessed rest of, let's see, are we at midnight? We're past midnight. So here on the eastern part of the United States, it's officially the 15th of August, halfway through the month of August. And have a blessed rest of the day if you're in the eastern portion. And if you're in the central and western portions, have a blessed rest of the night and a blessed tomorrow. And if you happen to be in Hawaii, got a lot of questions about things over there, and we'll get to that coming up too. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be on tomorrow night or not. I'll be back on Wednesday, probably at 8 o'clock Wednesday, and I'm going to try to have a guest on. I'm going to try to have an interview Wednesday with somebody that I think you might find interesting, and then we'll see what happens the rest of the week. So hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell if you would, please. Hit that like button as we get ready to shut down. It does help. And again, thank you all for being here. Namaste. Shalom. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. Blessings be upon each and every one of you. Positive vibrations. Peace. Live long and prosper. Love you all like chocolate chip cookies. It's a dark world. Try to be a light. Thanks for being here, seriously.